G'day and welcome to the Jade Rat. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to wish you all a safe, happy, restful Christmas and New Year. And I thought I'd check in with you guys to recap how 2022 is gone and set out some things that I'd like to share with you in the upcoming year. We'll go through the good, the bad, the weird, the ugly, and I'll chat to you soon. I'm going to switch over to do some highlight reels, but other than that, stay tuned and I'll chat to you soon. G'day and welcome to the voiceover. I just had a nap and I've woken up and I feel pretty fresh, so I was like, well, now's the best time to do this voiceover. This year's been a bit of a mixed bag in terms of creativity. There's been quite a variety of stuff that I've done this year in terms of painting, a lot of different media, pastels, gouache, watercolor, a little bit of oils, actually less oils than I normally would use, and often I found that I was a little bit paralyzed by choice, a little bit too much variation, a little bit too much of options for me to pick, and often I found that it was a little bit harder to decide on what to actually do or draw. There's quite a few sketchbooks going concurrently that I've sort of started but not focused on and finished. And so as we approach the meaty part of the year, this is still sort of in the first week, that kind of weird void where you don't really know what's going on. But as we're starting to settle into the new year, I would really like to focus on having a more directed approach, picking a media, working on it for a few weeks, and then really trying to get somewhere rather than just a smattering. And in particular, trying to come back more to the watercolors. Watercolors was sort of what got me really into painting regularly, because it was so easy to do. It was just, water, set it up and off you go. You didn't need all those materials. You didn't have a lot of space like oils, acrylics. And I've, throughout this past 2022, I haven't really been able to work on it as much as I would like. With that being said, I did actually acquire some new watercolors throughout the course of the year. In particular, some Daniel Smith colours, which you'll see on the screen there, and I believe these are a set of greens based on an artist who uses these sort of colours in their palette, and also that was gifted to me by my brother over Christmas. And also the watercolor company Scrim, which I believe are handmade watercolors. They're from Germany, I believe. And there's 3 sets of pearlescent, metallic, and standard plain colored watercolors that I think would be really good to see in sort of larger pieces, maybe leaning towards more fantasy and sort of magical element pieces. I've been trying to do things like make tarot cards. I do a tarot card design, something like that. But yeah, this past year has been a little bit all over the place with that. In terms of other crafts, have been pretty even, actually. Normally it's like more painting and then a little bit of craft on the side, but this year I felt pretty close to 50-50 on that split. So making cards, making tags, even made a mat. I actually made two, one very early on in the year and one around November, October time. That was using the rag rug method that I had seen on YouTube, and I will provide a link to that somewhere. But essentially I used a palette to create a loom and wove handkerchiefs and torn clothes into a mat. Did a little bit of knitting this year, not too much, nothing to really write home about, and of course gardening is sort of the background task that always happens. This year's the weather's been kind of weird. We didn't really have a spring. We just kind of went from cold to hot and then back to cold again. So it's been interesting with the gardening. Books, and this feels like a little bit of a speed run, but I didn't hit my Goodreads reading challenge for this year. Again, I think it was just like too many things happening all the time, and I'm the kind of person who reads at night, so by the end of the day you kind of get really tired, and you only end up reading 2 to 3 pages before you inevitably just pass out because you're so tired at the end of the day. But I really did enjoy a lot of the books that I read this year. I read the Jurassic Park and the Jurassic Park Lost World books, and recently also finished Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. These were buddy read with my friend, my best friend, and we read them together, and we used to catch up either in person or online and chat about the books at particular intervals. Pretty much like a book club. We call it book club, but neither of us have been in a book club, so I don't know if this is what actually happens in book club. But yeah, it was great fun. I definitely think reading along with someone else is a great way to enjoy something, especially like I don't have a very good biological knowledge, so Jurassic Park involves a lot of the genetics and biology, so reading along with someone who does have that background was really insightful. I also read Your Head is a Houseboat, which is by Campbell Walker, aka Struthless, who's also on YouTube, and it's again incredibly insightful, and a really good way to see how you can portray your mind, I guess, as this houseboat, and it kind of helps to visualize and demystify the thinking process. Very interesting stuff, and it's a super easy and fun read, and I would recommend anyone who would like to read that. And we're also currently going through like an Ikebana book, some manga and comics, those Not So Sweet Boys, which I believe is a shoujo manga. I don't read a lot of shoujo manga, so I don't know what to expect, but it was at the library, and it was like a volume 1. Generally at the library you can only get, the middle volumes, because people have loaned out the first. But I found this one, it was volume 1, and it was okay, as well as reading a Star Wars Legends book called Annihilation. It's based off the Old Republic, and some comics like Saga Volume 1, Batman The Long Halloween, based off of the recent movie that came out last year. I absolutely loved it. So fun. Had a great time watching that movie. And yeah, that was sort of books. More comics based, because I was trying to hit the reading challenge. I didn't get there. I read 19 books. But I will link my Goodreads profile in the description if you are interested in knowing what I read. Yeah. And finally, just in general stuff for the previous year, sort of the major one was, of course, like work. We did start to come back to on-site work. So previously, over the course of the pandemic, we were sort of 50-50 remote, but now it's starting to lean a little bit towards more on-site. It's still hybrid work, but often the physical presence is required a little bit more, and therefore the time that I would normally spend painting when working from home is kind of chewed up using by commute. We've done some community work that's also taken up a little bit of time. I do tuition, so my students completed their final year, and I'm super proud of them for getting through that. And we have my usual dance, my Bharatanatyam, that's been ongoing. I did take a break earlier on into 2022, but I came back in July, fresh and ready to get dancing again. And one thing that I really enjoyed this year is I took up Taekwondo. I've never done a martial art before, so this was very interesting and exciting, and it was also in a period where I was taking a break from dancing because it was kind of putting a lot of pressure on the joints, and it was getting a little bit hard at the times to coordinate with the rest of my classmates. So I did find a Taekwondo school that takes adults, and I've absolutely enjoyed it so much. It's very similar in some ways to dance, but also very different, and it's exciting to start that and do something, and you can actually visibly see your progress. I've now come up to the Blue 2 grade, the second stripe, Blue 2 belt, and yeah, it's been really fun. And I would recommend anybody, if they're trying to do something new, maybe take up some sort of martial art or sport or something where you get to improve yourself but also be part of like a school or a group, to get that sense of community. So with that said and done, I feel like I've just spoken a lot. Coming up to this year, 2023, what I would really like to do is to get out there. Oh, I forgot to talk about Inktober. Before I get into 2023, I did Tolkientober again this year. I was planning on recording it fully and then posting a video of it at the end of October or early November. However, I did get COVID in mid-October, which kind of threw a spanner in the works. I did complete the full 31 days on time. However, I just didn't get to record all of them. I'll put in a time lapse that you can see of some of them that I did record. I had great fun with it. Had a lot of interesting prompts to use, and I really like using a restriction. So in this case, it was have it related to Tolkien. Previously, I've done other restrictions like have it related to One Piece or something. And I think it just sort of focuses your prompts. It forces you to actually pick something within the realm of your prompt. Like a prompt to like a farm is so broad, but if you filter it down through some sort of restriction, it gets really easy. It's like, of course, there are very few mentions of farms in Lord of the Rings. Farmer Maggot is the most notable one that comes to mind, and therefore it's a very easy pick to do. You kind of eliminate that choice. So 2023, I would like to sell as much as I can. Sell the cards, sell watercolor, pieces, make stickers. I did dabble in making stickers last year with just sort of printing it on sticker paper and manually cutting around. It works okay, but I would like to get better at that. I was recently gifted by my amazing mum a cracker maker for Christmas, so I would like to crack that open, line up all the printing and the cutting, and make some stickers that I can sell. I would like to go to some local craft markets or something of that kind to just sort of get that exposure, and also see how it's done and see what people are really interested in. Selling online is a little bit hard because I kind of run out of the time to maintain it, and take the photos and things like that is a little bit time consuming, but in order to prepare something in person is a little bit easier to do, and so I'm looking forward to gauging people's interest in that. But yeah, let me know how your 2022 went. Did you start a new hobby? Did you read any interesting books? Did you get a pet? I still got my two, Snowy and Frankie, very cute. And yeah, I will try to have more videos that are less sort of random and less speed runny through the entire year kind of deal. But yeah, with that said and done, thank you for listening, and I hope I just thought that my recording had disappeared, but it's fine, it's where we're back. Yeah, thank you for listening, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all soon. Yeah, have a good one. Bye.